Imagine that you're sleeping, but you're not really sleeping like restfully. You're sleeping worried about any predators that might come in and have you as a prey. And then you wake up and then you have to think about, what do I have to hunt? How do I hunt? I have to gather sticks to make fire to prepare my very first meal of the day, just to have to do that again and again for the next meals. Well, that's kind of the life of our ancestors, because that was the worry back then. Like, how do I find my next meal, right? Now let's think of the scenario that we have today. You wake up peacefully in your comfy bed, in your comfy memory foam mattress, and you wake up with the sound of the alarm of your pre-programmed coffee maker, which already has your coffee prepared by the time you fully wake up. You walk to your fridge, you have options. You have eggs, you have bacon, you have all the options that you want. And let's say that you just don't feel like eating any of the food that you have in your fridge. Well, you can just get your phone, open your favorite food ordering app, and order whatever you want. In the next few minutes, it's already delivered to your doorstep. Well, what I'm describing is the things that we love and we have to, we get to enjoy every day in our modern society. But let's talk about the problems that we also have with all of these things. They're so easy, accessible, reachable to us. Problems that we have that we didn't, our ancestors, they didn't have those problems before. What I'm talking about specifically is our endless pursuit of pleasure. We live in a society that is a very hedonistic society. We're always seeking for pleasure and avoiding pain. Today, delayed gratification needs to be something intentionally practiced by us because we have the option, if we want to, not to have to delay our gratification. Everything is instant. All you want is in the tip of your finger. You don't have to wait too long. Everything is on demand. We have a lot of on demand experiences, and that is a problem because having too many pleasurable options is a problem. And you know why it's a problem? Because every time you have a new experience, a new pleasurable experience, you set the bar higher. Every time a little higher, every time a little higher. And it's endless, right? And that's a problem. Because every time that you set the bar higher, your pleasure experience or expectation needs to be higher as well. So the stimulation needs to be higher. And you know what happens? It leads to chronic dissatisfaction. And as I mentioned before, we live in a very hedonistic society. And this term, hedonistic, is derived from a Greek word that is hedon, which means pleasure. What I'm saying is that we are living in a society that is always seeking for pleasure and avoiding pain at all costs. And I'm not against pleasure whatsoever. But what I'm against is the type of society that we're living in, that we have this absurd amount of pleasure that is very accessible, which then creates the problem of you being addicted to pleasure. Instant gratification is a drug, and especially nowadays, it's a very accessible drug, and you can access this in many forms. You can access this by your social media, you can access this by ordering food that you want at any time, all the time, consuming content through reels, through shorts, this very quick content that we are able to consume on these social media platforms that makes our dopamine delivery jumps higher and higher and higher, which then leads us to this endless loop for seeking pleasure. But the problem is it's endless. So you, in this pursuit of pleasure, in this pursuit of quick dopamine fixes and releases, we get nowhere. And then we have to talk about what's the counter solution to that. We have to be able to balance this somehow. You understand? So we have to artificially or intentionally create scenarios that we can balance this out. One of the solutions that I want to talk to you today is building up your tolerance for discomfort, intentionally promoting discomfort every day. I know this is not something that you want, because just the word discomfort means that you're not comfortable. So in our hedonistic nature, we are avoiding pain, which means avoiding discomfort. So why would I be seeking discomfort? Well, remember that I said that we need a counterbalance to this hedonistic nature, or the nature of always seeking for pleasure. And you got to be intentional with that. So intentionally putting yourself in discomfort moments is the way to counterbalance this production of dopamine that is always giving you that dopamine fix, and it's endless. Because before, your brain released dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that helps you to get the will for doing things, right? So in our ancestors, in their brain, which is very similar to ours because our brain didn't evolve as fast as technology, for example, in their brains, dopamine was released to give you the action, to seek for things that they actually needed, to hunt, to gather. But now we are getting dopamine release without even having to move our body except our hands. Like when every time that you're scrolling, you're getting that dopamine fix of something new, you're getting novelty. And the problem is that we are being addicted to novelty, addicted to something new every single moment. And this behavior leads to dopamine tolerance. And dopamine tolerance will lead to for you not to enjoy normal things, because normal things is going to become boring. That's why people, when they don't have nothing new happening, or they don't have anything, any new event going on, they feel, or they even say that they are bored. Why? Because we have nowadays the opportunity to get novelty things, new things every single moment. And when life is normal, like it should be, we get bored because our brain is wired for instant gratification. Now, how do you promote this small discomforts that I'm saying? With this evolution, our brain became wired for instant gratification. How do you counterbalance that? By intentionally promoting small discomforts. Now, what I'm going to talk about, this kind of small discomforts, you heard it before, and sometimes you heard it in a way that is not very productive, or not very, not proven that it works. But let me tell you, it works, because every time that you promote discomfort, you balance out your dopamine release and the dopamine fix that I'm talking about. So let's talk about small discomfort. Taking that cold shower, yeah, that is a small discomfort, because you have the opportunity or the possibility to, most of us, luckily, to take a hot or a warm shower. So take a cold shower. Reading a book instead of watching Netflix. Watching Netflix gives you a huge dopamine spike, because you have tons of options, right? You end up scrolling, through movies and movies and movies and series, and not watching anything. So that's just dopamine fixes, dopamine releases. So that's one thing. Read a book instead, promoting a little discomfort. Walk up the stairs instead of taking the elevator. You're promoting small discomforts. Do a device fasting. Device fasting is powerful to level your dopamine levels. Why? Because you're doing a fast, or you are removing for a period of time everything that gives you that instant gratification, such as your phone, TV, computer, mostly any devices, electronic devices that you have. So if when you intentionally promote this fast, or this break from these devices, what's happening inside your brain? You're leveling down your dopamine releasing experiences. So what are you doing with these activities is you're intentionally resetting your rewards pathway. And it's important, because if your reward pathway is fixed on that loop of dopamine, which means that you're always getting new things, looking at new things, new experiences, you get stuck in that loop. So when you do, for example, the device fasting, what you do, you reset that reward dopamine, and it's extremely important for us. Another example for you to promote small discomfort is by fasting. Fasting is when you remove something from your food that you like to eat, and you remove that for a period of time, or you don't eat at all for a period of time. Well, I do fasting for a couple of reasons. One, religious. The second one is health and wellness. But let's talk about health and wellness, and especially the health and wellness of your brain. When you fast, what happens? And I had the opportunity to fast for 100 days, no sugar, no sugar for 100 days. Guess what happened after I finished my fast and I ate that very first piece of sweet? It was an explosion of flavor, you know? And I remember the day that I stopped that 100 days of fasting sugar. And the thing that I had, the very first thing that I had was a bite on a Nutella pizza. That exploded in my mouth. Now, if I had consumed Nutella every day for 100 days, wouldn't you agree with me that that Nutella wouldn't taste as special? You wouldn't taste as incredible as it did if I hadn't done that 100 days of fasting. It's the same thing with our dopamine levels. We need to fast on things that gives us this jump of dopamine in our brain, because when we do, we get back to normal levels, and then we start enjoying normal things that sometimes we say is boring. But guess what? It's only boring because you're used to things that produce huge spikes of dopamine. So yes, pleasure can be overrated if you don't know how to control the amount of pleasure that you get, because you can get into this loop that is, like I said before, endless, and everything is going to be boring to you. So I want to promote this small discomfort. I want you to find ways to promote small discomforts in your life so you can level down your dopamine and get to normal levels of dopamine. This is especially important in today's society. If you like this video, comment, like, share. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Master of Time, Rod Esteves. I appreciate you for being an amazing listener, amazing watcher, and I hope to see you on our next video. God bless you.